Yvonne, you just watched the sad Don Lemon interview as well, right? And that's really that really. I mean, you could say it's egregious and what he did, he attacked him, right? But I can't even be angry. It's like when I see that, I'm just sad for Don Lemon even. He made such a clown out of himself. I feel like and for the whole world to see, right? It's like he even doing the interview. It was a really weird vibe. I felt like he kind of noticed it himself, but he just kept going anyway. But he noticed how obvious these attacks were and how ridiculous they sounded. And I think now everybody can see that. It's like my feeling with this.
Ooh, yeah. So, yeah, I kind of felt the same way. Like I feel like I want to watch it, a couple more times actually, because it's like you have the first experience, first reaction to something. It's like watching a movie, but then when you watch it again, you learn a lot more the second time around or the third time around. Um, and I felt sad about it because I could see Elon's disappointment, man. I mean that's the thing that got me. I mean, there were a lot of things, but at that one point, like when he paused there and he was like, Don, and he was about to say something, and then he, continued on and was basically like, there's only 5 more minutes. And what I picked up from what he was thinking there is he was really disappointed. It's almost like he wanted to say, I'm disappointed in you. I mean, here we're having this opportunity to do something outside of the box of the way that a lot of other mainstream media and especially the news, stations are doing, and do something different. And he wasn't doing that. And I totally sensed that was part of the disappointment. And then he realized in that moment, not only did he probably want to say that, but the reason he didn't is because he realized that even if he told him, Don wasn't going to be able to really hear and listen and understand and comprehend anything that he actually told him anyway, because he wasn't really listening. So that's kind of part of the take that I got.
Yeah, no, he wasn't listening at all, and he purposefully misunderstood him, right? It was like, I mean, it was really ridiculous, and it's right out of the playbook, really, right? First, he's kind of attacking him with drug use, mental health, anti-Semitism, and then with a straight face, he asked him if he thinks if black people and women are less smarter, right? What kind of, I mean, it was just sad to see. Lumi, welcome to the stage. You got anything on that topic?
Yeah, good morning. I think it's really important to notice how from the beginning, even from muddling up the question with Starbase moving or things like that, it just gradually like eroded away, and the questions, if you notice, got more and more provocative and more like. So if you look at the expressions and the micro expressions of Elon, there's quite a few in like the first 20 minutes which are like kind of subtle, but at the 19-minute mark you could see he's like, all right, this is like become a little bit like you're attacking me. And then from like that point onwards, by 38 minutes it becomes like really kind of clear that it's like a hijack interview and he's getting questions in his ear. And then but after that it's just like, oh my god, the mask has been ripped off the mainstream media. And I think Elon is going to do a really good job of actually working in his favor, because he's a human being and he just got attacked like any one of us, and people can relate to that. And so not only will he do what he does best, and basically he's going to find other people to promote on platform who I think he thinks who are left or like democratic, but also are kind of like logical and not drinking from the punch bowl. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for some people out there at the moment as well.
Yeah, I think I should even thank Don Lemon really for exposing this to everybody to see, you know what I mean? Because this is exactly the playbook that the mainstream media has been using to attack him and other people, and it becomes so obvious now. Yeah, I almost got to thank him for that. I feel like.
I 100% agree with you, Alex, on that one. This gives the world to see, like if all of us were sitting here and thinking this exactly the same thing. It's like we can all see that, a man extends them a drowning person an olive branch, and the other person tries to drag him into the water, right? So of course he's gonna be like, "Yo, what's up, bro?" And Don Lemon has kind of shown the world that you can pull a homeless man out of the dumpster, but you can't pull the dumpster out of that homeless man. So.
And I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to make a prediction that this is the turning point for Elon now, in a weird way. Because basically it's just it's like one of those galvanizing moments for his people who have been watching for a while.
I agree. It's one of them, probably. Because this just seemed ridiculous. And what has Elon ever done to anyone, right? But doing cool stuff.
I mean, think about this.
Curious, I'm curious. When you say that you feel like this is a turning point, what exactly do you mean by that?
Okay, good, exactly. So remember when the Cybertruck was demoed and the glass window broke when they threw the ball at it, right? And it was a huge hoorah, and everyone got all but the real people behind him, they not advised, but they bought more stock and they just stayed by him. A year later, what happens, right? So the point is that I think this is like one of those situations where Elon camp sees this and they're like, all right, this is really obvious where we are now and where the current situation is with the share price and everything. I really do think this is the broken window moment. And it's almost like a ironic Keynesian economic metaphor meme. But anyway, enough of that. And not financial advice.
No, I agree. In general, I feel like this whole thing, and I don't want to go too far off the topic, or maybe I should, I don't know. But the mainstream media, what they have done to us in the last couple of years, right? It's just like one lie after another, and it has become more obvious and more obvious. I'm pretty fairly certain that this whole card house will eventually come crashing down. I don't know when and why and how, but this was most certainly one of those moments that helps with that, because they can't do this forever. It's like, at this point, most people don't even live in reality anymore, because they are peddling these stories to us every day. I feel like what we are doing here on X is just the antidote to that. I have said my fair share. I criticize Elon Musk sometimes for this and that, right? But his overall mission, I'm fully on board here. And I feel like this is the future of journalism and news right here. And they want to prevent that. They know they're dying. I'm working with media for over a decade now. And they have a big problem competing with the internet, and that's why they're doing it, right? They have to invent these ridiculous headlines so anybody clicks on it at all, right? And I feel like this is becoming very obvious now, every day, a little more, and eventually people will just turn away.
Well, the print media made the biggest mistake of consolidating and buying up all the failing other print media businesses into one massive conglomerate of just print media and media, conglomerates, which means that basically they made the big mistake where you're so concentrated that when a disruptive technology like this comes through, it's very dangerous to that whole empire.
Yeah, and so I have a question about that, you guys. Like, we're in the midst of it. We're seeing it, right? And they're talking about mainstream media and that essentially all of that is dying, and that's part of X. People want to hear the truth, right? They don't want to just hear a narrative. But what exactly? Let's say that is happening, right? So what exactly does that look like after that happens? What does the state of the world look like? What does a day-to-day look like? Surely people, I'm just doing a thought experiment into the future, right? Surely people have thought about it, because sometimes we get to where, we want this thing to happen in the immediate moment, but then people are only thinking of the immediate present, or a couple of weeks or a couple of months or a year down the road. But if that were to actually happen, what does our world look like? How different is it from today? I mean, because surely people are still going to be watching those main networks. What do you guys see with that? Do you just see that maybe finally then, even though we still have the main networks, they have been more, they're more equal in their opinions of a lot of these things and try to remain less biased going forward to keep some strength there?
I think
I'm
they
gonna
become more biased.
go ahead. Please go ahead, man.
Oh, I think they're going to become more biased, and they'll pander to the reducing group of people. But it's also a cultural thing and an age thing. As the younger generations come through, they're going to be more adaptive to this, whereas the older generations, which relied on it, like radio, they're passing away right now. Do you know what I mean? So it's a cultural timing thing as well. But I think the most important thing to realize is that this is kind of like a zeitgeist moment, like a once in a generational shift. And the people who adapt to it, like for instance, yourself and Alex, may end up being in positions where you wouldn't dream of maybe like 5 years ago, in a weird way, in a year or two, or 3, depends on the timeline.
Yeah, I believe everything's going towards individual influencers now. And I think AI even plays a bit of a role in that. For example, what I do here, I couldn't do if I didn't have AI, right? I can do all this media now. So it is conceivable that an individual influencer can become his own media station here, right? So I think this is where this is going. And maybe even, I really think like something like Spaces is like a real interesting model here, because of everything, goes down to the individual creator, and then you just, and in a way, I'm rambling a bit here, but I think it's even more biased in the future. But then at least you know about it, right? Then you follow individual people and you know them for a long time. You know their bias. You know what they're all about, right? And if something then happens in the world, these individual creators come spontaneously together in something like a space, and then talk about it while it's happening, right? Like these spaces like Mario Nabal does sometimes, right? If there's a war happening or anything on Earth, I go to X, go in these spaces, and there are a lot of different people. Some of them I know their deal, and I don't agree with all of it, right? Everybody has their own opinion, and there's also a lot of shit in there, of course. But I feel like as a consumer, I gotta make my own decisions anyway, right? I don't want it to be spoon-fed narrative. I take a look at all of these opinions, research it a little myself, and that's how I get my news, right? And I feel like if you're sitting in a space like that on X, while world events are occurring, I feel like you are the first person on Earth who has access to that information, because all of these people gathering information, aggregating it, right? That I can see a little bit as the future of media, I think.
Well, I already make money from being on Spaces because of my day job. Not being funny, the real-time information I get actually puts me ahead of some people, which in the end means that I can make better decisions. And it's all public information. It's just about being in front of the crowd and understanding where it's going to go. So, like, not always, don't get me wrong, but the idea is that, like, the Rothschilds used to have their own horses running from country to country to get the information quicker. A day would mean the world for them when they're arbitraring gold. So the point is, information is king, and if you are, like Elon said, closer to the source, which X is, the news is today on X, whereas yesterday's news is on the multimedia and the mainstream media, the mainstream media and everyone else. So the point is we're closer to the source than you can actually ever particularly get. For instance, if Alex was a real absolutely famous person one day and I have access to his DMs, I can then contact him about, say, something which is happening in real time, and that would be journalism in real time. And that means that I can have someone's phone number, but I'm a nobody. So how am I meant to get, say, in the future, Alex's phone number if he's this crazy celebrity? But now, because you have a platform which connects people, you never know what could happen, and that, I think, changes the game as well.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. But they're going to fight it, right? And that's what this is. This is what this is. This is what this interview was about, and this is what they're doing for years now. They're going to fight it to the last man, and I don't know how that looks like. That will surely create a lot of chaos, and I think it has created a lot of chaos. a lot of these things, the division that we are suffering from the last couple of years in the West, right? I feel like the media single-handedly created that simply because they wanted more numbers, right? Because it is much better for them if they create headlines where they know the people fight in the comment sections, because that gets them algorithm juice, right? That's what they do. That's why they do it. Sometimes I feel like it's not even ideology with them. It's just they want the numbers. And then we divide into tribes, and the whole world turns to what it is right now. And they will fight it, but I think eventually their fate is kind of sealed.